Dear students, in today's session 4 from Unit 1 Advertising as a Tool of Communication. And now, today, we will again discuss about the advertising and publicity, how they are related, how they are responsible in order to convey the message through advertising and publicity. Advertising always takes a media through which channelizing the message from source to the receiver. Now, the advertising or the advertiser and the advertising agents purchase the airtime and broadcast their medium or media. Either it could be of various platforms such as visual and oral, etc. Also, they buy spaces. The advertiser buy the spaces in print medium such as magazines, newspapers. Certain spaces are allocated only for advertising and publicity of the information or the message to be conveyed to the audience, targeted audience. If we had keenly observed thoroughly the newspapers that we read every day in our day-to-day life, there are certain spaces meant only for advertising and publicity. So those spaces are bought by the ad agencies and brand owners, and the publicity of the message will be conveyed through either newspapers, magazines, and many other social medias. A smart advisor will purchase the space, ad space, in those areas where the audience are known as the consistent viewers or the consistent target audience. The advertiser wants to reach to every human beings, to every target audience. Moreover, mostly the advertisers or advertising messages are the ad agencies or the brand owners have to purchase the space for them to publicity their advertisings. Mostly in publicity, advertising plays a vital role. Both run parallelly in order to convey the message to target audience through media with a informative message through press release. Now, the difference between advertising and publicity. How do we compare? With respect to who says the advertising and publicity. company says is it all about itself. The company has to convey the message about themselves, about the advertising. Who does the publicity? The publicity is mostly done by others, say it about the company or maybe others, a general public or a experienced target audience. Can the company control the message? Yes. The company has all rights to control the advertisings. But can a company control the publicity? No. Once the publicity is announced in the group of audience, it forms a link or the chain, thus propagating through various forms of media, thus by spreading the message to various groups of people. And who controls the final message? The advertising is always controlled by the company. They themselves, the company can decide what is the time period that the advertising has to exist in the market, has to be visible, has to be conveyed to the consumer or the end user or the audience. Whereas in terms of publicity, an independent or the third party source that is not related to the company will control the final message. The type of message delivered in advertisings is always positive, but biased and partial to only the good aspects. Whereas the type of message that are delivered in publicity is that can be a positive or negative form of publicity, but the final message is considered unbiased, impartial and reality. That becomes the reality in terms of publicity. The cost of advertising is very expensive, whereas the publicity do not need any budgeting or anybody's expense. It's not expensive as it is free. It keeps the interchange or discussion between the two parties or the two groups or the two people becomes the publicity or message transformation from one person to one other person. Thus it doesn't cost anything and it is happening in free of cost. Credibility of advertising is very low and credibility of publicity is high. Repeatability. How many times an advertising can be repeated? Or is it advisable to repeat the advertising multiple times? Yes, of course. The advertising can be used multiple times whenever on need basis. Whereas the publicity cannot be used on multiple times. It can be one time. And in public relations, it's all about building and maintenance of good relations between the stakeholders and the targeted audience, or positive publicity targeted in order to gain the positive publicity. The publicity is to convince the reporters or editors to present news coverage about a particular person, organization or an event by saying or doing something that the news media will choose to report of their own violation as a part of their usual task. The publicity seekers or the source intend to gain free and hopefully favorable coverage. The publicity seekers also are entirely at the mercy of the media editors and other people. And also it is possible to offer the media staff who decide how will it be reported and how much attention it will be sought by the public relations. Now, the public relations and advertisings are the two major tools for promoting the products and services offered by the company. And now the advertising is a form of communication. How it is related, how it is much relevant with public, what way it is related to public, and it acts as a communication. It becomes a tool of communication used by the company to convince the prospective consumers. Also, the company has to have a hold to control the content of their advertising statements or messages or media. Either it could be various channels such as visual, oral, visual cum oral, and many other forms. They have to choose the change, the story or the idea, so that it will be conveyed to the every positive public. Now, the public relation also provides information and newsworthy stories to media. So they can write and pierce about their respective product or businesses. Also, advertising and public relations are the tools that help in conveying and also to communicate the message through various channels. The main key is, or the target is to reach the target audience, is to place the message at a various platforms the target audience is likely to use. Maybe it could be an article of a company, newsletters, emails, blogs, tweets, also articles through media, also through various other channels. Also, public relation is all about building a strong and maintain good relation with various stakeholders by gaining positive publicity. Now, the difference between the advertising and public relations. The company pays for ad space for advertising, whereas the public relation, we get a free publicity for the company. It do not require any specific spaces for advertising or conveying the message. Suppose advertising has to have a creative control on what it goes that into the ads. There should be a specific ads that are to be very, very creative, very attractive, and the ad agencies has to have control on what it goes into the media. Whereas in publicity or public relation, we don't have any control over how the media presents your information. It could be of positive side, also it could be of negative side. And advertising is generally have a longer shelf life than one press release. But in terms of public relation, once you submit a press release about a news conference, only once it will reach the target audience. The target audience cannot or do not keep on be discussing about the publicity of a particular message. In advertising, a target audience, when you are looking and advertising accordingly. So it is always important to design an advertising ad with respect to the target audience. The specifications has to be implemented. Whereas in public relation, there must be an angle and a hook editors to get them to use information for an article. So this way the public relation and publicity is related to advertising. Hence, this advertising, publicity and public relations are very much important for advertising. Also, the publicity and public relation plays a vital role in successful advertisement of a product. Thus, by conveying the message through a source from conveying a message through media, by channelizing from source to the end user. End of session 4. Thank you.